I got drive like Uber. On the road like the runner bee. These coyotes can't catch up with me. Got these heads blowing like TNT. I got drive like Uber. Yeah, all these lions in this pride with me. Hunting on the daily cause the dream ain't free. Gotta get it now. Time to wait for me. I got drive like Uber.
All right. We are back with another episode of the Dinner Club Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Larnell Walker, a.k.a. the Lion of Many Hunts. I got my co-host, Tyson, in the building. I don't even like co-hosts. I got my host, Tyson, in the building, man. We out here.
Right.
So, we're going to keep it real simple today, man. We've been doing a lot of stuff, bouncing around, handling a lot of business. If you've been paying attention, like myself, my brother, and a lot of our allies have been outside on the streets every single day. First and foremost, I would be completely negligent to not shout out the fact that the reason that we're doing this is the youth, man. Shout out to all the youth that's out here holding it down and fighting for something real and tangible and, showing my generation a thing or two and showing the generations after us a thing or two. Because, a lot of people did get comfortable after, civil rights happened and things like that. And there was still a lot of work left to do. You know what I mean? A lot of people got comfortable after Obama, et cetera. But those are just small steps. You know what I mean? And I think it's actually sobering to the world right now to know that we did have a black president. So that's great. It's fantastic. It's in our historical lexicon and all of that. It's great. It's cemented. But we still got mad work to do. And I think it's important that this moment highlighted the fact of how much work we still have left to do systemically. And in somewhat societal. The societal side, I think, is more unconscious biases. There are some conscious biases. Obviously, some people out there aware of their racism.
Right.
But I think they're few far in between by comparison, just from what we see, or they're staying in the shadows really well. And they're really good at being hermits. But overall, from the one thing for me that's inspiring, besides the youngins doing their thing, is seeing all of these people out there galvanized, man. Like, there's people from all walks of life, man. I just went to Dartmouth yesterday for a rally. I mean, I'm sorry, on the 6th. Was that yesterday? Because I'm tired as hell. Yeah, no, on the 6th for a rally. And it was dope, man, because it was like 90% white people from, an affluent community that doesn't necessarily have to put themselves, in the fight, and they are. And if the news media have you thinking this is all just some BS about rioting and looting and all of that stuff, and I'm not even gonna sit here and act like, to a degree, it's a consequence of war. You understand what I'm saying? Like, once you wage war, there's gonna be consequences. There's gonna be people that act out, and even though it's not my approach per se, my personal approach, I can understand how that approach still applies pressure on the system. It still applies pressure to the system. All I ask is that all these youngins try to stay alive and not add themselves to the list. That's the most I can ask, but I can understand it.
Right. And you have to realize that you don't appreciate the sunshine as much when you haven't experienced rain. And so sometimes people get complacent seeing the peaceful protest side of it. And again, not advocating for violence, looting, and rioting, but if you juxtapose those two to which would you rather have and which would you more likely want to pay attention to avoid the other, you're going to start saying, maybe I need to listen to these peaceful voices, because if not, they may convert to that side and they may end up taking, looting and rioting and all that stuff. It may go in that direction. So let's try to have the more level heads sit down and talk through this and see what we do to reach a solution before it becomes something else that we absolutely do not want. So, just appreciating both sides.
Yeah, one of the things we definitely want to touch on today was, so one of the things about trying to organize and galvanize as quick as they are, the youth, because I'm not critiquing the youth at all. I'm more or less trying to just be a hand of guidance. It did get to a point where my guidance would be taken the wrong way, and I never want to come across as like somebody trying to, even as a black man, a black male who gets into a lot of these situations. And I've been harassed by cops. I've been beaten by cops. I've been pulled over by cops. I've been arrested. I've been for nothing. I've been through all of the above. So sometimes me being in that hat, I feel more personally invested sometimes going through the experience, but I also want to allow these kids that haven't necessarily been in those experiences to have a voice on it so they never have to go through it. So, we go through our ebbs and flows, and right now I'm playing more of like a, a Obi-Wan role, you know what I'm saying? And just chilling in the back, you know what I'm saying? Old Yoda, just chilling in, but no baby Yoda, old Yoda, just chilling in the back and doing what we can. We've been using our business to store, nutritional stuff, food, fruit, waters, and all of that good stuff. Thankfully,
letting them use the
Yeah,
bathroom
let
they
them use the
need.
restroom, let them use the space. Today they had a meeting.
Yep.
Just trying to be guidance. You know what I mean? Just trying to be the best guidance we can. And one of the things that's happening right now, which happens, it happens, is disagreements on approaches and how to deal with things. But I think the thing that I want to emphasize, and I've been trying to emphasize to the youth, is that you can have a company with separate departments that are attacking the same goals, but in different ways.
Right.
So it's cool to have a difference of opinion, but maybe you might just have to, have somebody who works in between your two departments to communicate back and forth, but have two different departments, you know what I'm saying? And work from that standpoint on trying to be effective in the community. Again, it's been about a week since these kids started. You know what I'm saying? We've been out there a little bit longer as far as like,
Yep.
going to all that craziness.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been in the community a while. You know what I'm saying? One thing that really got highlighted to me is like the nativism. You know what I mean? I was actually shocked at like how many people of color are willing to judge myself and yourself for coming
Right.
into community and adding value. But at the same time, we had empathy enough to hear people out and understand that their voices haven't been heard for so long.
Right.
And in places like this, once you're known for being a certain way, people just typecast you. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard to break that barrier. So I can understand it's hard to see people like us move into a community in a fast pace with the skill sets that we came with and make these allegiances. We've done a lot of great work in this community. And to be blunt, the nigga in me from the projects don't want to hear nothing have to do with nothing about me not being real.
Right.
When you're from the projects, real is as you need that. You know what I'm saying? Like, are you a real nigga? All this other stuff. So when I get into that bag, sometimes again, I always admit that I'm a person in reformation. My instincts are to go back to the block. But as I'm sitting here and I'm getting older and diplomacy is really starting to kick in and become an effective skill for me, I'm learning to just have empathetic ears and hear people out first. I'm at least going to hear you all the way out before I fucking give you a right hook. At least now I'll listen. No, I'm just joking, people. I'm chilling. But seriously though, like, so I just want to give a shout out to, Eric Andrade again.
Right.
I think we had some healthy dialogue. And I felt like in the last couple of days, we've been having more healthy dialogue. What he did yesterday with the caravan was crazy. There was over 100 cars in the caravan. We did it all. Well, he did it all underground. He set it up all underground, nothing on the internet. And that's an aspect of things that we've been talking about. It's like keeping things off the radar. Everybody doesn't have to know all your moves. It doesn't have to be a poster board on how you're gonna move, because then people know how to subvert that. Yeah, I'll be remiss. Yo, Christian, I see you, bro. Major shout out to you, bro. You're a part of the entire mission and you got this thing rolling. So I'm always going to commend you, brother, for doing what you was doing. And again, that's just another dope example of like two different sides doing two different things. It was effective. You had people in the street marching. You had people on the corner of County and Union holding signs and interacting with people driving by in the community. And then you had a caravan canvassing the entire city and hitting targeted locations of people in positions of power and privilege that should be out here making a change or having an opinion on how to get reformation done. So that's just another example of like a general, right? Or a branch of, that's why you have different branches of service.
And that's exactly right. Like, so you're going to have your Marines, your Navies, your Air Force, your Coast Guard, your Army, and even inside of each one of those different branches, you have different units and squadrons and things like that. So like for myself, I was part of an AES squadron, which is Aero Medevac. I was part of a combat comm squadron, which is, combat mixed with communications. I got to be a part of a training squadron. So like there's all these different things. Big Red One out in Fort Polk in Louisiana, right? That's your paratroopers. And you have all these different things going on, and they all have the same goal. So what I want to specifically say to the youth out there is a great job for coming together and kind of now figuring out your roles in each thing. Like who's a great speaker, who's a great rallier, who has the best communication skills when it comes to contacting people to get them to come out, who's a great person to make a playlist, like a protest playlist. Like everyone can serve a purpose for the greater good and to push forward the message. And I feel like that's where the impact's going to be made. Not everyone's meant to do everything, and also that creates fatigue when you try to.
Absolutely. And again, like, you know, there's I keep telling these kids, man, like, you're my hero. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm out here just, you know, bowing to your capes, man. Like my man Lipsy just said, man, we're proud of what everyone in the community is doing, to be honest. And yeah, there's a few knuckleheads, but what I'm realizing is, again, the knuckleheads are few and far in between, and that's progress. You know what I'm saying? We do have to focus on the end game, because, you know, the signs and everything are cute and everything like that. And I think that the kids have galvanized in a way that they understand the end game. And that's dope. Again, I just want to, you know, reiterate, regardless of egos, personas, whatever, the mission always has to be progress and equity at the table for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need equity, and we need a stake in the game. I'm even, like, as I've been going through this process, I'm pretty vulgar. You know, I'm gonna drop some F-bombs here and there, but I definitely been working hard to reform some of that so I can be more effective to some of the younger kids. A large part of that is honestly just my frustration with the fact that we're still here. And it's tough. It's tough to navigate these times. It's tough to navigate what's going on. But I feel appreciative, and I feel something different in the air. This is global. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't want us to just, like, we have a situation with Malcolm Gracie out here. And it's important that we highlight that moment, because we do have to clean up where we are. But I don't want us to get too lost in the sauce and not understand that what happened to Malcolm, when we focus solely on that, when you step back, you realize there's a larger picture. This is systemic. This is a problem nationally and globally. Don't get this twisted. You still have South Africans right now fighting for their farmland back. You know, how did it get to the point that you have South Africans being colonized to the point that you have to ask for your farmland back? So again, you know, we have to think about perspective and who's doing what and why we're doing the things that we're doing. It's very important that we understand the end game and what we're really asking for in the long run. And I again, these kids are doing an incredible job. They're doing an incredible job. And yeah, I agree with you, Libs. Like, I've been saying that for a long time. Like, my vulgarity is nothing in comparison to the brutality that we've been taking. You know what I mean? And that's where my vulgarity comes from. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not messing with none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not messing with people, because that's also another form of control that people with privilege try to use on you sometimes, is why you got to be so vulgar. I'm not as vulgar as watching that man with a knee on his neck for 9 minutes begging for his mama who's not here.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like, take more of an issue with that than how I'm talking about things. Because what is my message? You know what I mean? Don't get lost. What is my message?
And that's something that like the deflection points is something that people often use just to avoid the discomfort. They'll focus on something else to try to get you off on a tangent, so they don't have to deal with what they're actually facing, right? Because let's face it, all this stuff right now that we're dealing with, processing, going through, is uncomfortable to talk about, because we've made it so commonplace for so long that everyone's kind of having an awkward moment of, like, you know, well, how do I tell you that? Like, you ever been a kid? You sitting there, you're like, I like that girl. I like that. Well, how do I tell her? That's where we're at right now with talking about race relations and racism and how to solve it. People are like, well, I don't, you go first. Well, no, you go first. Well, I'm tired of facing it. And well, I'm tired of subconsciously thinking about it. Like, everyone's at that awkward point. And I want to say, you brought up a good segue, because you keep talking about Endgame. You keep talking about and then I have the list of demands in front of me. So I think we should touch on that, and then we can talk about what that end game and the list of demands currently are.
Yeah, let's get into it. So you want me to pull that up right now?
Yeah, pull that up.
All right, cool. So, you know, we try to bring some levity. We balance levity and brevity. And we definitely found some interesting stuff that kind of helps process that's that scenario, and understanding how many parallels we see in some of the stuff that we digest. We just don't, really able to draw to connect the dots until we're actually sitting in a situation where we're dealing with it. So check this out. This is pretty interesting right here.
Is that everyone? But you wanted more?
Avengers!
Assemble.
So I thought that was pretty cool. You know, my man Tyson pulled that up. And that kind of embodies what we're dealing with here. You know what I mean? But I hope you understood the context of that. We all play our own roles in the fight against the establishment. You know what I'm saying? So, like, let's be a little bit less judgmental of each other and a little bit more supportive. Because, again, we're all trying to reach a means to an end. And like we said, you have different branches of service for a reason. And we have to attack it the same way. There's a multi-pronged approach here. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to whoever made that video, by the way. That was awesome.
Right.
I hope you guys don't get me flagged, though, because Facebook don't be playing.
Right. And I thought that was pretty poignant because Chris, I forget his last name, Hemsworth. I think it's Chris.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. Yep.
He plays Captain America, and so he actually saw it and it was tagged in and was like, "This is awesome! Like, this is great," and shared it. So, again, right there, celebrities using their platform to bring awareness, and he retweeted it, put it out, put something on it, and like you said there has to be some type of end game. There has to be demands. There has to be something tangible that we want to do, that we want to see changed. I mean, I have a list of demands, but I know something that people are talking about right now is defunding the police department. And my dad called me actually before we got onto the podcast, and he said, "Yo," well, he didn't say "yo," but he was like, you know what they need to do.
Your dad jumped like, "Yerp,
yerp." He was like, "What they need to do is to stop people from deflecting from what the purpose of defunding the police department would be. Is they need to change the word from defunding to reallocation, because then that stops that whole, you want to defund the police, and then people get that blockage of like, you're just talking about taking all the money away from police, like what's going to happen?" And that's not what is being proposed. Okay, it's a reallocation of funds. It's a redistributing of the public good and services funds that are given to the police department that open them up to militarization against citizens. Okay, what do we need with, for instance, and I'm throwing this, a tank? What do we need a tank in our city streets for against our citizens? The United States is not a war zone amongst itself. The last time it was the Civil War, roughly speaking, right, where we literally fought amongst each other over control and succession and all that, and slavery. Like, that's when we don't want to get back to that. So we need to keep the militarization kind of off the streets and not have the people versus the establishment from a physical standpoint. Okay. And so I'll touch on this unless you want to add something before I touch on these demands.
No, absolutely. Take over, brother. Did you get there?
So these are the demands that have been proposed by our local BLM protesters. They're not Black Lives Matter, by the way, people. They are of the principality that Black Lives Matter. So not the same organization. They just have the messaging of that. So their demands are, and I'm not saying anything one way or the other, just reading them. An investigation into the filing of false police reports by the detectives involved in the Malcolm Gracia case. Okay. The immediate firing of the New Bedford police officers involved in the murder of Malcolm Gracia. The mayor of New Bedford to publicly correct his false statements regarding Detective Tyson Barnes' 1 centimeter superficial wound, in which he said that the alleged attack could have killed Barnes. That Detective Paul Fonseca is charged with first-degree murder based on the evidence in the case. That Detective Sylvia is charged with second-degree murder based on the evidence in the case. That the city of New Bedford increased funding for community efforts and organizations instead of police force in order to prevent police brutality and violence in the future. So that is the short list of demands that they have crafted up. They actually put out a graphic. Probably be able to drop that graphic in the comment section so you guys can actually look at it and see it. I'll go ahead and do that. But so again, we have these youth have an end game for us.
Mm-hmm.
All right. They're not just going through the rigmarole of protesting and getting out there and and then going home and going, that was a good day.
Mm-hmm.
They are literally working towards closure for themselves and for the community. And that is the end. That, like Peter said before, we don't want to get stuck on that, but that's the end game right now. And then the focus broadens a little bit more. Once they're able to see they made progress here, they go, we can make more progress. We can do more. We can be more. We can become more. Go ahead. What do you got on that?
With that being said, this takes a large. So the demands are real. They're clear. They're concise.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the counter side wants to dilute all of your messaging. They work to try to marginalize everything that you talk about. And what you have to understand is reacting is exactly what they want, especially online. So we have to understand, my philosophy is don't feed the trolls. Mm-hmm. They exist, and that's what it's about. We're in a different phase. Like, I don't want us to get caught up so much in the 50s and 60s and not understand where we have made some societal progress. Because if you look around, we got more allies than ever. One interesting thing that I heard from Tyson talking to his dad was that white agitators was a thing back then too. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And no disrespect to my white allies, it's just in their DNA to a degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you like, yo, white people ride for me, and the motherfuckers show up with on horses and muskets, the motherfuckers ain't playing. They ain't playing. So just be careful. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, we just got to be careful. We got to be mindful of exactly what we're asking for from our allies, because some of them are willing to ride or die. And sometimes we got to tell them today's not the day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I need you to ride or die on grandma and tell her to chill. I need you to ride or die on your local politicians and tell them to change laws and legislature to create equity at the table. I need you to ride or die on these programs and these institutions that are not putting funds or allocating them in the right way. But we also have to talk about something else. We have to talk about people putting their feelings aside for a second. Mm-hmm. See, the art of public discourse is getting lost in the sauce because people will feel before they comprehend. Mm-hmm. We have to stop for a second. Hold your feelings. Hold them. Everybody has the right to feel. Absolutely. But if the only thing we do is feel first, it blinds us from the logistical standpoint of how to get to anywhere. And we're stuck. We get stuck in quicksand. So we have to hold our feelings tight. We have to hold them super tight. And we have to understand the logical side of listening to people. We have to be willing to sit across from somebody and hear something we don't want to hear, right, in order to logically reply and rebuttal to that, or walk away from the table and figure out the best way to approach your argument to get them to change their perspective. And in all cases, people will not change their perspective sometimes. This is a consequence of life. There are 7+ billion people on this rock. So we're all not going to share the same ideas and the same concepts for how to get to where we want to get to. Mm-hmm. But one thing we want to talk about for sure is what did you call it earlier? You call it protest fatigue?
Yeah, protest fatigue.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going through protest fatigue. I'm gonna let my man Tyson talk about it a little
Yeah.
bit, and I'll just pull some clips up right here that you can look at. You can take a peek at about some of the strategies. I've been seeing a good thing floating around. My wife shared it, Third Eye shared it. I thought it was pretty good to talk about because protest fatigue is a thing.
Right, and so I mean, essentially, repetitious behavior day after day after day. I mean, call it the monotony of work, even, right? But and you're actually out there, you're physically exerting yourself when you're yelling. You're out there in the heat all day. You're not eating as much as you normally would. You're not urinating or defecating as much as you normally would. Your body starts to take that toll, as well as your emotional side is conflicted because you're experiencing feelings and things that you may not normally experience on a daily basis, along with diet depletion. So you're going to get fatigued, and that's natural. That's perfectly okay. And I feel like a lot of people think that taking a day off is weakness, but taking a day off is necessary for you to continue the fight tomorrow. So you have to take care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, whatever you believe in. Hop in the bath with a bath bomb, do whatever it is that you need in order to rejuvenate yourself, your spirit, and physique, whatever it is, working out, taking push-ups, whatever. You must do those things in order to keep fighting. And so some things that you can look at, I know we're going to get into some of it, but I want to talk about scheduling shifts, right? From a leadership perspective, and you could take it or leave it, but making a schedule where people can rotate in from a leadership. You don't need every single head of your snake out there every single day. You can have 2 people on, 3 people off type of rotation schedules. Like take it from COs, take it from police officers. How do they get scheduled? Let's start using some of the strategies that keep their men fresh and use it to keep our people fresh. Stay hydrated, eat fruits, veggies, sleep, right? And don't hold your pee. Do not. Okay. All of these things will help contribute to us feeling better while we're out there and keeping each other in good spirits, right? And if you see someone that may look dehydrated, whatever, don't be like, go home or whatever, but just say, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? We have to also look out for the person that's next to us. When I was out there one of the nights, I saw a person with a cane, and so I went over to that person and I asked the march, could they slow down? This person is out here. They don't want to stop marching. They don't want to get in a vehicle, but can we move at the pace of our slowest marcher to keep them engaged, keep them involved, and empower them to finish this race? And so they were able to do that. We have to look out for one another so that we don't get fatigued, we don't get tired, and don't be scared to take the day off and rotate. Okay.
Absolutely. And then so one of the practices here they talk about is if you're hyper vigilant, nonstop scrolling and looking over your shoulder. So, you got to take mental breaks, man. Like it's tough because like people want to stay in tune as they can, and the news feed will keep you locked in even when you're trying not to. So I would say, sometimes take a break and start looking up different kinds of content that bring you some kind of peace and tranquility. I mean, I don't give a crap if you like looking at hummingbirds flapping and slow time lapse footage. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm weird. I watch that shit. I like it.
Right.
And if that's what you need, do that. But also, like my wife just said, wear a mask. Be mindful of what's going on out here. You can get a false sense of confidence during this time and see, you feel good because everybody's out there. But you have to understand that this COVID thing does have a large incubation period. So if everybody's been out here for a week, 2 weeks from now might not feel good. So, just be mindful of that and wear a mask, especially the youngins. Please protect the babies. I'm a teacher of tricks. So like my daughter, she's into her cartoons right now. So I just got her to think about the mask as like being a ninja. You know what I'm saying? Like PJ Mask, you know what I'm saying? Like throw that mask on, hiya, you know what I'm saying? And she's all for it. When she's putting on her mask, she feels like she turned into a superhero. You know what I mean? So like turn it into a game for your kids, even though it's not a game in real life. But they're gonna be protecting themselves. Create a safety curtain in your home. Again, make sure you can have a safe space, a quiet space, some quiet time wherever it is. I don't get man, if I can't get it, I'll go in the bathroom. I will literally just sit and just breathe for a second. I've had to do that a couple of times this week. Because there's so many different varying ways of how things are processed and done. If you feel alone, unsupported, not a member of a team. So, you want to start a group chat of supportive people, or you want to just connect with people in real life when you're outside, find out the people that you can actually talk to. Again, wear your mask. But again, you're not alone. So if you feel alone, make sure that you understand that you're not, and find ways to understand that. I don't want to say any names, but we had someone today who had to process their feelings, and they took a step outside the shop and sat down on the ground and let it out. And when we all came out, the major thing was to make this person understand that they're not alone. Right. We all feel it as well. I've had some teary moments when I come home after a lot of these nights. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm really worried about these kids keeping it together. Again, if you feel numb or you feel disconnected, you know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that you're talking to people. Again, this is all about communication and having people around you. Try journaling, you know what I mean? Writing down your experiences, keeping track of your emotions during different times, what you took from each moment. Ground yourself in physical sensations. Take a hot or cold shower, drink cold water, do small exercises. I can tell you personally, when I'm absolutely spent, some people are like, why would you go home and just start banging on a punching bag? Because I'm getting out all that negative energy from the day. Right. It takes a large wear and tear on me. And that's my outlet. Some people do yoga. I like a punching bag. So whatever your outlet is, utilize those outlets more than ever now during these times to keep yourself together. If you feel overstimulated, that's definitely a thing that can happen. I'm one of those people. I can get overstimulated and I cannot stop sometimes. Once I get going, it's a wrap. I'm on my third thing of iced coffee today. Today's an overstimulated day. But I got to remember, to retreat. I got to remember to retreat. I got to remember to take a second. I've been blessed enough to get into a place in my life where I can have a pool in the yard. They finished it today. It's filling up, and I'm looking forward to, because I can't swim. So I'm looking forward to sitting on my floaties. And that's going to be my retreat. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, just make sure that you're maintaining support and communicating with your friends and your family, how you're feeling, and what you're going through during these times. Just know you're not alone. If your heart won't stop racing, my wife literally went through this the other night. She literally woke up in the middle of the night and she just had a panic moment. She's pregnant as well. So it's on top of all of this stress and everything going on, her trying to be effective. She literally woke up. I came upstairs and I just sat with her, you know what I mean? And just talked to her, hold hands, you know what I mean? I held hands with her, rubbed her legs, let her know everything's okay. She breathed for a little while, got some control breathing going. And then she went back into her state of having to get some rest for her long day tomorrow. But again, it's important, drink a full glass of water, eat protein-rich snacks, stuff like that. Some of that can come from malnutrition. These are all important things that we must take into consideration. If you feel hopeless or disempowered, listen to a podcast. You know what I mean? Listen to someone like us who's out here trying to push hope on people. Read a book that focuses on social change and positive things, things like that. Connect and share with trusted friends or an accountability partner. Take one small action, a donation, signing a petition. Definitely sign this petition that they have floating around out here. If you support, sign a petition to release the Rhode Island State Hospital record so we can understand the truth behind whatever that side of the ball said instead of the paramedic perspective. You know what I mean? It's important to talk about your feelings and let them out with people. But if you want to understand how you can be effective out here on that petition side, definitely connect with my man, Christian. My wife said, put your feelings on the sign. Correct. Let those feelings out. That's another way of journaling and getting it out to people. That's important to be supportive. It's emotional. Everyone processes the emotion differently. Absolutely. Absolutely. My man, Christian, one of the pioneers who started this movement out here and got it going, said it's important to talk, to let your feelings out to someone. Exactly. And try to do so respectfully. You know what I mean? That's the key thing. You know what I mean? It's okay to feel anger, but you don't have to. Anger and disrespect don't have to go hand in hand. Right. Arm yourself with a breathing technique. Absolutely. Make sure you do that. But understand, like, hopelessness and all of that stuff can feel overwhelming by being over inundated with negative information, especially with these algorithms that work in a way to do that to you. So we don't want to, be dismissive of the fact that these algorithms are built in a way to keep you stuck to the screen. You know what I mean? That goes into the next one. If you feel stuck in place, frozen, indecisive, or overwhelmed, practice physical grounding technique. Again, drink water, name your surroundings, how they feel, do a breathing exercise, do 10 to 15 minutes of exercise. It's about being physically active and sometimes taking that physical break. It's a balance. Life is always a balance. It takes energy to maintain balance. So just try to stay as balanced as you can. Please understand that a lot of people that come to the protest too, you got to be an empathetic person. There are people who are fighting mental health who have also been mistreated by the police, and they're trying to protest in the best way they know how. And we have to be able to tell the social cues and be able to treat those people accordingly. Everybody's not in the same bag when they come out to protest. All right. Rest is not the enemy of change. It's one part of its fuel. And that's real. You know what I mean? So like, again, those are just some things that you can use, some methodologies that you can remember. I have to practice this. So I felt like it was good to share because I've been at it every day, but I have found my ways to rest. I have found my ways to get rest and still balance being out there. Some of us take a larger role than others as far as like what we're willing to commit to. I don't want people to feel like if you're just out there for an hour, I don't want to feel like you're not doing anything. You have done something. You have been effective. You have been a part of the movement. If you're out there for 9-10 hours, for goodness sake, thank you so much. Get some rest, reset. I'm thankful that I have my wife and daughter. They help me reset all the time. Your heart racing is a scary feeling, especially when you're not used to that. Absolutely. Like my man David said, mental health for mental wealth. That's correct. Get to know the people you are protesting with. There is most likely a nurse, therapist, etc. among you. Absolutely. Create a dialogue. How do you know when and where the protests are happening? So there's a group on the Facebook page. And also Christian is here. If you hit up Christian, I think he just answered. Oh, okay, he just said it's okay. But hit this gentleman right here, Christian Romero,
and
in the
he can
comments.
drop the link in the comments too.
Absolutely. Christian, please drop the link to the group in the comments so people can join and stay informed. I appreciate him for tuning in. Later in the week, we will have some of them on some of the platforms that we're going to be holding, and some of the things that we have going on. We'll get into some of those details towards the end of the show and let you know some of the cool things that we have going on. And shout out to the Queer Arts Council, all of that stuff. So many people are galvanizing behind the troops and making sure that we move in an effective way. But again, we just want to talk about some of the mental health capacity and how we're all trying to deal with it in our own way. Do not get overwhelmed. Do not get caught into the banter with the trolls. Understand that there are going to be people who are there just only to solely get you riled up. They live off of that. They feed off of that. Don't feed the succubus. You know what I'm saying? Don't let them suck your soul out of you. The vampires, the ghouls. It's okay to not have to respond to everything you see on the internet. It's absolutely okay. So they said they're going to start protesting at Buttonwood next. I believe I saw something saying that they'll be starting from 1 to 6 most days. So that's going to be cool. Thank you. I met you in life. I think the first night in County and Union, we spoke about my son. Absolutely, Angie. I remembered you. And as you see, Dartmouth got out and did their thing. I told you Christian's the guy to have, you know, or some of these ladies as well, Monique and etc., to have your son connect with. Your story was inspiring, and you see that there's change going on. Places like Dartmouth have to wake up. There's always going to be, I don't want the few voices of ignorance to take over on any side of the ball. You know what I'm saying? Because there can be people who want to change things, but they want to do it in a way that cannot be. There is a wrong way to do this. Right. There is a wrong way. I won't go any further than that. You know what I'm saying? Because to determine that is tough. But there are effective ways to go about it as well. And I'm gonna be bluntly honest. Like, let me give you an example. A wrong way: going out and randomly just attacking white people for the hell of it.
Yeah, that's definitely not the right way.
Not the right way. Looting and rioting, in some forms, can be pressure, a different pressure. I don't personally subscribe to it. No. But I can understand. And I can understand that the real life consequence and actions that it, you know, people who frown at that don't frown at when we went and bombed villages and, you know, collateral damage was happening all the time. You have more collateral damages than the targets that they meant to hit. So people get finicky about whatever. There's a consequence to wars and there's a consequence of negative energy in the universe. So some of it's just inadvertent chaos that comes from the calamity of what is, you know what I mean? We just have to choose and pick and choose what our mantras are going to be amongst ourselves and find people with likewise mantras and move forward in a productive way. Thank you so much. I wanted him to meet you. I will be around. You know what I'm saying? Hit me anytime. We will meet. There's going to be some stuff going on in the Cushnet. I had somebody reach out and say they wanted me to come over and talk. I don't know why y'all want me to talk. I'm crazy as shit. I don't know what's happening. The universe has kind of shifted us in a way. Tyson, I meant to talk to you about this earlier. I mean, just think about the fact that the universe provided us that space to be able to do what we're doing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's amazing. Exactly. So I'm nutty, people. I'm a reluctant leader. Maybe because I'm very self-aware of my limitations, but I'm also working in a capacity where I've discovered I'm in fear of those limitations, and I don't really necessarily have to be, because I have people around me to support me and help me stay within the bounds of my new self, not my old self. Because trust me, the old voices in there, like, drop kick this mother effer.
Do it.
Do it. You know what I mean? I hear it all the time. Just do it. But I gotta chill. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm thinking about the babies and the examples that I'm gonna have on them. You know what I mean? If there comes a time where I feel like trust me, I'm with the shits. If there comes a time where the fight, I feel like the fight needs to happen, I'll be the first one up. But right now, I think that we can have some diplomacy, especially in this area.
Absolutely. He
scares me, his anger, because of what he went through, and his post seemed very dark. I will absolutely make sure that tomorrow I reach out to, and you see what I'm saying? People like, I love y'all, man, because I'm telling you. I will absolutely make sure that tomorrow I reach out, myself and Tyson, and we will come over to your side of town, and we will come talk to him. See if he's available and what time. I have a meeting in the morning. But after that, I will dedicate time. We will dedicate time to just come talk to him in particular, because we understand what he went through, and it's an absolute atrocity what he went through. For people who are not familiar with the story, this young man was chased down, people calling him monkey and nigger and all this other stuff over in Dartmouth, and it's just ridiculous. But we also want to highlight the fact that a lot of people in Dartmouth did come out to support. So you have supporters in your community. It's just that we have to connect with those mantras, those people. But absolutely, Angie, we will definitely take some time to come out tomorrow and have a discussion with that young man, because I know how easy it is for that anger to slip into a way that can be completely destructive and self-defecating to everybody and everything. And we don't want that to happen to him. We want him to understand the strength and what he can actually do by harnessing that energy and put it into the proper formats as legislation and stuff like that. So we will definitely talk to him. Thank you. I'm off tomorrow, and he'll be home. Perfect. I'll give you a shout. We'll make sure we take care of that. Absolutely. He's got a lot of support, and that's what he must know all the time. Like we said earlier, remember that you've got a ton of support. Let that young man know we are here for him 110%. I will not even sit here and hold anybody. I'm spread thin. I'm spread very thin. And I'm cool with it.
Still make it work.
I do. And I find I don't need as much time to recoup as the normal person, maybe, quote unquote normal, which is astounding to me. But I think it came from me having to have a fast recovery time in the environment that I grew up in. Me dealing with losing family members left and right, and then having to remember that the streets are still dangerous, and I got to mourn and move at the same time. So I'm cut different. You know what I'm saying? I'm cut a little different. We love you. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. All love.
We love you. Seriously. And that's why I'm trying to change up my tonality on here. I just want to have fun on this damn podcast, people. But the world's too serious, and I'm in a position where a lot of people, I don't know why I love y'all, are looking at me. I think it's so crazy, man, because I wouldn't look at me. And I'm just being honest. I guess a lot of people appreciate that humility. Yeah, I just don't know how to speak on it. I'm not very good at taking compliments. I used to be. I used to suck that shit up and feed my ego. I think I'm afraid of my ego falling back into place with this. A lot of times people can confuse my conviction and my passion for my ego, but I like you to pay attention to my actions, because my actions always dictate where my ego is. Even if people disagree with me outside, I'm still here every day.
Right.
I'm still helping. I'm still playing a role. So again, it's just about understanding things larger than ourselves. I've been fortunate and blessed enough to be able to look at legacy beyond my lifespan. And I've accepted the role in my family. I never, again, knock on wood, I'm not looking to get taken out no time soon, but I know what I'll sacrifice. But I know I won't sacrifice it, being stupid. Right. It has to be for the right cause at the right moment, at the right time. I'm actually glad that I've been through some of the things that I've been through in my life now that I'm here, because I know the lengths that I will go. I I don't speak on, it's funny because I talked about this earlier. Like, I don't speak on violence as much because I know it very well. And after you've become so accustomed to violence, a history of violence in family, the streets, the community, everything, you can reach a point where you want that to be your last resort, not your first instance. Absolutely. So I'm holding that card always. It's not my first response. If it ever has to be, it is what it is. I'm not perfect. I don't want to. Anybody who wants me to help out with anything, understand something. I'm a human being. I don't feel above anybody or better than anyone or smarter. I always say with Tyson on here all the time, like, I'm not Einstein, so I don't know how people don't get some shit that I can get, but it is what it is. But understand, I'm a human being. If you put me on a pedestal, you're fucking up what I'm trying to actually do here. I'm trying to put us all on equal footing and gain equity. So I appreciate y'all. Go ahead, Ty.
No, actually, just speaking of Dartmouth, I figured we might hop into an article that came out.
Oh, you want to do this, man? Come on. I just told you I want to talk about me.
No, let's do it.
This guy. So
it's here now.
It's because you guys are honest and straight up about things and can talk about stuff from all different perspectives without arguing. The calmness is attractive to people who need help or just hope. Shit, I appreciate that because I was not always like that.
Right, exactly. It took some time in anger management as a kid.
Listen,
took
man.
Some time as an adult.
Listen, man. As I get older, I'm very, very appreciative of my struggles. Very appreciative of my struggles because the stuff that I went through has brought me here. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just a vessel of the universe at this point, so I take no claim to it. I give all praises to the universe for aligning all the element stars, the everything that it had to align to get us here. You know what I'm saying? It's very imperative that I stay modest in that regard. This is me, but it's the universe. It's got the will. You know what I'm saying? Tyson knows. I hit up Tyson all the time. Don't y'all get it twisted. Exactly what I just said there. You gotta have people to talk to. Tyson in the beginning, I know, was confused because he's always like, he's gonna fuck somebody up. He's gonna go outside. He's gonna fuck somebody up. I'm just venting. If I don't have that space, and I'm actually glad that I met Tyson. We disagree all the time. That's where we kind of learned it from each other too, because we disagree on things. You know what I'm saying? But there's no disrespect. Sometimes if I feel like I overstep, I'll call him back and be like, "Yo, my bad if I came off a certain way." And he's always like, "Bro, shut up."
Yeah,
on,
like
bro.
I never cared. Thick skin, and we move on. You know.
Nah, that's a fact. So, and I'm appreciative of having a friendship like that where we can critique each other. Sometimes people get my confidence messed up and think I'm not willing to be critiqued. I only got here from accepting critiques. I think the problem sometimes is that I adjust very quickly. So if you tell me something reasonable and I hear you, I adjust immediately, like autocorrect. I use that term all the time. I'm very good at autocorrecting. And I want more of us to be good at that and just admitting it. You know, I just talked in a meeting earlier about a lot of our allies. What happens is that when people are being oppressed and marginalized, we can group people. And then what happens is that people don't want to, people on the other side don't want to take that. They're like, but it's not me. I want you to be big enough to just take it, even if it's not you. Right. I'm gonna give you a personal experience in my life. So I used to be a womanizer. I have 5 kids. Well, my 5th is on the way. But I had 2 kids around the same time when I was 19, 20. I think I was 20 at the time, from 2 different women. I was out here treating women like they were notches on my belt. And I had plenty of wrongdoing in those scenarios, but I also felt like there was some wrong done to me. But as I've gotten older, I respect those women regardless. So if the means to which to get the progress is just me taking all of it, then I'll do that for the sake of our children, for the sake of my community, for the sake of the cause. People died, so I can't just take blame. I'll take it. Right. I'll just take it. I've taken it, and it's helped in a lot of ways. I'm not tripping about, I gotta make sure you understand my perspective and not anymore. Like I gave it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you can't get everybody to understand your perspective, but what I can do is help everybody progress.
Right.
But like my man was saying, we'll pull up this article real quick. This is a beautiful picture of me and Nyla
Right.
together.
I was looking like that picture is a powerful one. I like
So
it.
I've been floating around, man, getting around. This is probably why people hit me up to come to everything, because I have been floating around. But I've been trying to catch a vibe. I've been trying to see what's really going on. So Dartmouth had a march of Black Lives Matter. We made the picture, whatever. You know what I mean? But what was pretty dope is that when I went over to Dartmouth, it was a 99% white crowd.
Right.
Which was, some people could take it however you want. That's incredible. That's actually incredible, especially for somewhere that Dartmouth has been notoriously known in this area as a racist place. As Angie has told you, her son has gone through something that's serious. But I think that there's people that are over there that are like, I'm not going to allow that to be the concept of where we live. Even if we are living in a quote unquote white community, we're not going to allow ourselves to be attached to the old stigmas. And that's a difference in the change of paradigm and the force that we're taking place here. Again, there was a quote that was used for me here, and I don't know where the heck that came from. My brain, I told y'all, the universe takes over, but I just want to read this quote. So, New Bedford resident Peter Walker said that he came out with his daughter Nyla to show the importance of demonstrating. Now, I remember that. There was a part I went on, a crazy part. Not only does he want to give Nyla a better future and all of our children a better future, he said he also wants her to see what people in communities like Dartmouth are fighting for people like her. I don't want to carry on the stigma of like Dartmouth and Fairhaven actually just doesn't care. Sure, there's plenty of people there that absolutely don't, but not all. Right. And I'm trying to teach her to be fair and balanced, because let me tell you something. My wife, mother is white. Y'all see my wife, she's browner than me. Mm-hmm. But her mother's white. Her grandparents are white. You understand what I'm saying? We live in a situation where my mom and dad's black. So that's all I knew. Blackity black. You know what I'm saying? And Latino in my neighborhood and stuff like that. But to be in a biracial family and have to go through the dynamics in the beginning to get to where we are now, just by being able to communicate, I think, largely being married to a biracial woman has helped me be able to help people understand diplomatically what we're actually trying to say versus just letting it be emotional when it comes out. Mm-hmm. And I've changed people's hearts and vice versa. But here's the big one. I want you kids to understand something. I'm not just saying this. You kids are my heroes. And I want you to understand something. When the star explodes, another solar system is created. Something great will come out of this movement. So don't feel like we're not going to get somewhere. We will get somewhere from this, okay? I got to get off of this. I don't even like looking at myself and nothing like that. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. But it is important that we are out here and being active and people are seeing us and corresponding with us to get our thoughts. I can say one of the major reasons why that happened is that there were youth of color out there. They were few and far in between, but they were out there. But I didn't see anybody our age that was out there. So I want you to understand that just happened just because I was there and they wanted an older black person's perspective. You know what I mean? I'm only 35. Right. So I guess that counts. But you know what I mean? Like, seriously, I'm not about here trying to put division in anybody's heart. We have to change. We have to topple this thing from the top down, and things will change. They say shit rolls downhill. Well, we need equity to roll downhill now. So right. We'll get there. Exactly. What else you got for me, brother?
So,
yeah. Wait. Yeah. Go ahead. You got some good ones.
Were you going to push to the girlfriend one or what?
The black woman shocked?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go there.
Yeah, we'll give a little juice out here.
Yeah, a little juice. Y'all got y'all teacups? I got some coffee, little right. Juice. Let me take a sip real quick before we pull this up. Oh, y'all got to hit her. Oh. All right, so let's check it out. This is interesting.
So, and so this, we're going to segue into this, but this is where we start to look at and say, when people use I have a black friend, or my girlfriend is black, or my wife is black, or different things like that, it doesn't always necessarily align with your beliefs. Oftentimes people forget that slave masters were sleeping with their slaves. They were subjugating their slaves and all that stuff. So it's not uncommon to have interracial relationships or interracial sexual encounters. And that isn't indicative of your belief system. And so this is just an example of that. And again, not trying to create divide, but trying to create awareness, because a lot of times if you're an ally and you're in a room and someone will be like, well, I didn't mean that because I have a white this, or I have a black this, or, and you have to kind of understand that is a gaslighting defense. That's to get you to go, oh, okay, you know what? You're right. You do. But that is not a defense at all for your mental, what you actually think about something. And so there's a black woman who discovered that the white man she was dating had sent vile racist messages about her to his friends, calling her the N-word and saying his grandpa would have owned her. And what the crazy part about this is, his feelings and emotions surrounding this stemmed from them having an all lives matter conversation versus a Black Lives Matter conversation. So think about it. They're sitting there talking about what matters to her from a race relations standpoint in a relationship, and he goes to his friends and says all of this stuff. So let's get to what was said.
So let's see, where is it? Oh, does she actually have a video? Oh, here it is. So I've been talking to this white guy for a few months. Now I gave my all to this man for real. Come to find out, he's been racist this whole time. This is how he talks about me to his friends.
I have no words.
Yep. Where is it?
So yeah, if you keep going down.
Oh, there we go. Oh man, holy fuck. I'm sorry, not sorry, but I have this black girl over again, and every time she says something stupid as F, I'm just gonna say fuck. It's my podcast.
Yeah,
whatever.
right.
I want to call her the N-word. I don't. Why? If you're gonna say all that, you might as well just say nigga. Like, damn, bro.
Exactly.
Is that bad, or is she just acting her part? What the fuck does that mean?
Wow.
This stays between all of us. I don't know what that is. No, fuck. You call her that, laugh my laugh, and she acting the part. She can't get mad when you say it. I really want to call this girl the N-word and have her leave. Is that wrong? I swear, what the fuck? This fucking girl, I swear, back in the 20s when my grandfather would have owned her, bro. The disrespect right now. Whipped hands down. Fuck black women. What the fuck? I love it. Ha ha. But for real, fuck black women. Laugh out loud. See, this is like, this is crazy because, like, I'm tired. Like, bro.
Yep.
This is where my reformation gets a little hazy.
Right.
I don't like when you attack black sisters, man. I will bust your ass. Understand that shit. Bro, this black girl, I don't know if keep having her come over. Got into a debate about Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. I'm about to make another statistic about how white men abuse black women. Oh my god, this fucking girl is dumb as bags of rocks. My drunk ass can't handle this shit. If you see me on the news, just know, just now your heads. I don't know what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah. Just know, it pretty much like just know this is what it's about. And then it busts down for her there, which is important to read this because I want to bring up someone that I know personally, Ashley Ben-Dixon, who talks about the signs of an abusive relationship and signs that you need to get out and things like that. And this girl right now is showing some of the signs that she needed to get out of there. And he was displaying these signs through drinking and racism. So it says, for everyone asking, I was with him last night and I was playing music off his phone. We just had the BLM ALM debate. He was complaining about it and I low-key peeped the messages. So I waited for him to go to sleep, went through them, screenshotted them and all that. Now go down because she describes more about their relationship. So I've known him for the past 5 years. I thought we were good friends. So I was always there for him. That's what I meant by giving my all. Ain't nothing wrong with being a good friend. I just found out all this racist shit out last night. The third screenshot was from last night. Now we get into it. I feel dumb for wasting my time and energy on someone who secretly hated me in their core. It explains him accidentally hurting me or drunkenly making me do things against my will. But you give people chances when you care. Signs/red flags are there for a reason. Lesson learned. So this man was physically accosting her, as well as I'm going to assume that the drunkenly making me do stuff I didn't want to do has to do with sexual behaviors and acts that she knew she was uncomfortable with, but she figured he's drunk and he's going to fight me or hurt me. So let me just give in. And that's not okay. That is not okay. But she kept going back. And for those of you who aren't familiar with with Stockholm syndrome, or the mentality that slaves went through during that time, where they still had to serve their master even when they were being abused, mistreated, sexually abused. Like it is a real generational trauma and generationally perpetuated behavior that we're seeing in someone who's in their 20s.
And then I want you to understand, as an ally, right? This is why we need more allies checking people, because things could have been substantially different if maybe that white friend, I'm assuming, that he was hitting up, checked him.
Right. If he was
That's
like,
why we need more you allies to hold each other responsible. Because if you notice, you notice, like, the person that he was talking to was like, you could tell they were submissively agreeing.
Right.
Not necessarily that they were in full agreement, because they didn't go in.
Right.
He was like, cool.
He parroted what he said. He said, yeah, man, fuck black women. Oh, if she's acting the part, like,
it's trash, man. It's a trash mentality to have. Again, do not ignore the warning signs in people. It's tough, man. It's really tough out here, because there were a lot of people that were trying to say that we were beyond racism and the younger generation. Nah, man, like, this shit's crazy what's happening with the internet. It's just re-galvanizing people to be more racist. You know, you gotta, and this is why we have to be. I'm not sensitive to white males at all, but youthful white males.
Yeah.
If we keep cutting them out and cutting them out and cutting them out and not making the youthful white males a part of the conversation as a part of the process of reformation, then they find people who will accept them.
Right.
And it's the little racist groups.
And it's honestly, it falls into the same like kind of mentality or tropes when it comes to minorities and gangs, that people always realize, like, oh, it's always the ones that feel left out, feel like they don't have a family, feel like they don't have people they can talk to. And so if we realize that behavior can sometimes lead to going into gangs and gang mentality in the street life, then we also have to realize that mentality in young white males is what makes them easily recruitable for extreme right organizations. The KKK, the Proud Boys is like the new one for the younger dudes that are more like really about the shits and really like, I want to go bash a bottle over someone's head. You have the Proud Boys, the KKK, and that makes it easy for them to be recruited, because they're like, oh, they won't listen to you? I will.
Mm-hmm.
I got a group of guys over here, and all we do is talk to each other about these things. You should come to our group. And then they get sucked in.
To make it simple for you, ignorance is easy to recruit.
Yep.
Ignorance is the easiest thing to recruit. Absolutely. Intelligence, decorum, patience, these things are far much harder to recruit.
Right.
Ignorance is the easiest. Like, yo, you can, oh man, as soon as you see it, you can prey on, because the ignorant are easily preyed upon.
Yep.
Easily. The emotionally void, people that don't get the love that they need, then they only respond to things irrationally and emotionally, are the easiest ones to turn into anything.
Right.
So, you know, it's a double-edged sword, but we have to be very, very, very careful about how we approach educating young white males.
Yes.
A lot of people don't want me to feel anything from them, but these people are children. A lot of this stuff is learned habits. I know some young white males that I've had plenty of conversations with, and they're out here pioneering for us right now. They're championing for us right now. Because I didn't accost them in the way that I approached them. I educated them.
Right.
Now, if the education doesn't work, then cool. You chose your line in the sand. See you later.
Right.
You're not going to change every single person. There will always be a pocket of bias somewhere. The point is to not make them feel as comfortable that they can galvanize and overrule. So we're in another Reich. We don't need no more of that shit. I also want to talk about the forgiving nature of my people, because sometimes that's looked at as a negative aspect when we are the strongest willed people on the face of the planet, especially after we still will befriend, trust, and love people who do harm to us. That some can see that as a detriment. We're resilient. even if that's been the way we've been doing it. We're still here. We're still multiplying. We're still a part of the ranks. People still, you hate to love us because you got to love our culture. You love our culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's become the number one thing globally.
Right.
So I want to commend us for, to a degree, sticking to our roots, man. Sticking to our roots, man. We are a loving people. And maybe this is why it's time for the paradigm to shift and for us to lead the world.
Right. Well,
Because we seem to have the most empathy.
Right.
And again, there's always pockets of ignorance. So y'all can go find some ignorant example.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
It'll be easy to do that with the internet.
with anybody's
Right.
group. But overall, you have to think we are pretty damn resilient and loving.
Yeah. And those are qualities to be proud of. Those are qualities to be revered. And I want to admit something too. I was talking to Danny. Danny, if you guys don't know Danny Moriarty, smart kid, white kid, down for the cause. And so we had a conversation about allyship today because he was like, you know, he wanted to do more and he wants to be a better ally. He saw some people and he was like, yo, like, you guys need to go talk to like Peter and Tyson, like, and he's trying to get them together. And I said, I will admit, this is where my blackness reverts to skepticism because of people's verbiage right now and how faddish this shit has become. Also, every situation that has become dangerous thus far at these protests I've witnessed in real life has come from white people. And they either run or had zero problem with me being the shield. And so I had to explain to him that, like, after having a conversation with my dad about the fact that, you know, white people being the ones to kind of push the edge have always been a thing, and why I'm also a little skeptical about when white people are like, oh yeah, I want to help, I want to be a part of this, I want to be at the rally, I want to be there, because I'm like, well, hold on, because I want you there and we need allyship. We absolutely do. There's no denying it. But we have to realize that everyone we let through the gate comes at a cost. Okay? Because we don't know what type of situations they've been in. We don't know what they're prepared for. We don't know what they're prepared to do. We don't know if they could be a mole kind of trying to subvert the movement. Because even out here, the night Monday when the kids had experienced, you know, the dogs being out and things, and the cops came the next day and kind of, you know, tried to piece it up and say, I'm sorry, and we made a mistake. But it was because of people throwing a bottle who weren't a part of the protest.
Mm-hmm.
And from the word I received, it was white people that weren't a part of the protest that almost got these kids messed up in the game. Two of them got arrested. And then let out the next day. That's public knowledge, so I'm not dropping nothing crazy.
No, we're talking. Listen, man. Everybody knows Tyrell. They was out here screaming free Tyrell. I was just with Tyrell and Shakira today. God bless them.
And God bless them. On, you know, they made the announcement. So again, not dropping
the new edition.
And they're having a new addition, you know, to their family. So God bless them. God bless the child that comes from it. You know, we joke
that
about
child's gonna be a revolutionary right there.
We joke about him being J. Cole Jr.
Yeah, that's JC Jr. right there. J. Cole or Jesus Christ, you pick.
Exactly. So, you know, so the skepticism does come out, even in someone that I'll say as tends to be more forgiving and metered, and to the point where Peter even goes, "Yo, bro, like, yo, bro." Yeah, he like, sometimes you gotta turn it up, and I'm like, no, because sometimes I don't know how to turn it back down. And you know, so I like to pull from David. David is very zen. I like to pull from him.
David, man.
You know what I mean? So, but the skepticism is real there, and people have to. I'm speaking to white people in particular. You have to understand what we've seen on these front lines sometimes, and what we've seen throughout history, where someone that my dad was 15 years old when he first marched with Dr. King down south. And what he saw and what he told me, and he's like, be careful and my dad's telling me that from a place of love, not hate. He's like, don't go out here and get messed up in the game because you're trying to make sure that white people feel comfortable at a time when you're feeling uncomfortable.
Bingo.
You know what I mean? So
damn, your dad I gotta sit with your dad because
I'm telling you,
I be saying the same thing. But I don't be saying it like that.
Exact. And that's what I'm saying. Ian got the chance to meet my pops, and he's like, oh, I can't wait to sit back down with your dad and just talk to him. Because my dad comes from the South. He was a farmer, 27 something acres his family had. And then they came up here. They still have the land and all that stuff down south. great legacy in the Moultrie family, all the way back to the flag of South Carolina. But he came up here. He was in finance and asset management, so he picked up a skill set there. He tried to teach me some of that stuff. He worked at a bicycle factory, so he also knows what hard work is. His brothers and sisters bought a house together. They shared 2 cars. The girls had a car and the guys had a car, and they all worked at the same place, same shift, so they could share and carpool to get there and then come back home. They made a way to save money, build wealth, and buy properties in Springfield. But he was also a CO, and and my cousins notoriously went through jail, so they had to see my dad in Ludlow, and he was always the CO that had that psychology side about him. That was more like empathetic ears, as you always say. That he would say, "Tell me your story. Why are you in here? Guilty or not, I don't care. Just tell me the truth, so I know how to help you inside of here." So that when you need someone to talk to, you have one person at least in here who knows your full story and knows the truth about it, who can stand up for you, help you, and give you advice. He was always that guy. And so he's still, to this day, being that guy to me, even as an adult. And he's willing to be with anyone, share his experiences and all that. So big shout outs to my dad, who spoke to me right before I hopped on the podcast. I was like, "Dad, I got to go on the show, so I'll talk to you after." He was like, "All right."
Shout out Papa Moultrie, because you know
like,
and that's why sometimes I'd be like, "Bro, you utilize the parents that you have," because I didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, my pops was a ghost. He was a Rolling Stone, and he dropped a whole bunch of kids and kept moving. You know what I'm saying? Like tumbleweeds in the wind. You know what I'm saying? So, and my mom, you know what I'm saying? God bless her soul. I just lost my mom last year, and we didn't have the best relationship growing up. You know what I'm saying? Her dealing with addiction, me being in the streets. It just didn't jive. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't happen until I got older, had children, got on my own, and I was able to look at my mom through a different lens and understand that the same thing we're talking about, systemic racism, is the same thing that affected my mother in that community, of her being strung out and not knowing what to do, her being trapped into this enablement. This is what I'm talking about, people enabling people who stay marginalized. Like Section 8 was supposed to be a transitional thing, a foot up to get the way you got to get to. But once they got us into the habit of making it generation, that's not a legacy.
No.
A legacy of subservience is not a legacy. I'm not knocking anybody who utilizes the tools that you have in front of you to stay alive, but you should not be passing that generationally down to your kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you should, how many people didn't know that, you could use Section 8 on a house? Right. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's just like a lack of a knowledge that, no, just use this Section 8 to stay in public housing. Right. That's a trap. You know what I'm saying? And I had to realize that my mother was a victim of all the tropes of her time. You understand what I'm saying? And it's hard when you're trying to raise a son my mother went through the bus riots in Boston. She used to always sit back when she had her coherent moments and tell me all this crazy stuff. My mother was a very smart woman when she was young. She had me when she was 18. She had, lo and behold, the mayor's name at the time was Mayor White. But, she had her artwork put up on PBS and all this other stuff. And then from there, she just met a guy. My dad's Trinidadian. I actually did some homework on his dad is popping. I actually did some homework on some tropes about West Indians and Trinidadians, and it's pretty crazy. Like, the culture was pretty crazy. You know what I'm saying? I got some feedback from some people about how they viewed women, and things of that. So for them to have like their first female president and all of that stuff is pretty dope too, because that's progress in that area. Because it was very misogynistic how a lot of Trinidadians live their life. Finding out that my Trinidadian roots had a tie to Taino and all this, I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know what I'm saying? So like, this is stuff that I was ignorant to. You know what I'm saying? This is stuff that nobody taught me, and I had to go out and venture in the world. I'm still ignorant to a lot of things. But here's the thing: I will not stay ignorant by refusing to learn new things.
Right.
I'm willing to learn. I'm open. That's how I stopped being homophobic. But I also explained to the community why there's a whole bunch of homophobia in the black community, from the days of buck busting to how it's being weaponized in mass incarceration. And if we don't acknowledge that, we can't fix it.
And I'll go a step further and even speak on castration in the black community, because that was a tactic used. And so oftentimes it's tough for us to look at the transgender community in a way when we see, you know, them making a full transition, because it's like some type, again, generational trauma where you're like, you're gonna cut off your what? To us, that's a form of emasculation. That's a form of control. That's a form of keeping us in our place. So we have to fight through a lot of those barriers and find that level of acceptance and find that level of going, you know what? I respect that you feel that way about yourself. And I have to deal with the generational trauma that was handed down to me, lessons that were taught to me. I have to fight through a lot of that stuff too. So it's a lot of give and go on all sides, but we can do it. You know what I mean? We can do it.
This is absolutely a paramount time. And we can make some huge, you know, I was just talking to some kids earlier, right? And I was explaining to them, helping marginalized communities has an inadvertent effect of helping everybody.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't know that ADA compliance and things like that came out of the civil rights movement.
Yep.
The reason that you have wheelchair access to cross streets came out of the civil rights movement. So helping us helps you.
Mm-hmm.
Helping us helps everybody.
Right.
But it's about not enabling, not keep passing us, telling us it's transitional assistance, but creating a system that keeps us so dependent upon it that if we make too much money, we lose the assistance. So it's like, but I'm not making enough money to not need the assistance.
Right.
It's a rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to fix that. We have to create true empowerment, true upward momentum, true growth.
Right.
Otherwise, you're talking on deaf ears to people who got to stay marginalized to get the assistance that they have, to feel like that's empowering them and passing it on generationally.
Right. And
it's a problem.
And that's where I will say that sometimes I get caught in an unpopular opinion when I talk about whenever politicians are in a room full of black and brown people, they push rent control on them. They push rent control, and I'm like, why? That to me.
Why not push home ownership?
Why not push ownership? The path to ownership from a rent control scenario, from a Section 8 scenario, from any of these public assistance programs. Push a path to ownership, property. That's what we need to start pushing.
One thing I want to touch on that. One thing I was talking about with Eric, and I totally agree, is redlining. Like, how do we combat redlining? You need to create not affordable housing, affordable homes.
Mm-hmm.
To give back to those people you redlined out of their communities.
Absolutely.
Not affordable housing, affordable homes. Because I can tell you right now, as a person that grew up in the project and was used to people shoveling the block and changing the light bulbs and whatever, we didn't have to worry about nothing.
It changed.
It felt like it was an advantage. I have become a much mature, responsible, sound-minded person because I got to shovel my driveway.
Right.
Because I got to fix that wooden panel on the house. I got to mow this grass. Of course, I got paid people to do it, but I ain't into that right now. I'm a little younger. I can still get it done. I'll wait till my back's all the way out. But even if I got to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah, I ain't going to flex. We hired a landscaper for Wednesday because I'm like, I'm not.
It ain't happening.
I'm not a green thumb guy like that, so I need help.
Yeah, facts. And even if I have to pay for it, there's a level of accountability, responsibility that you get for. I never knew this. Again, this is a new phenomena to me, but it's important how to budget my money.
Yep.
How to understand. I don't buy anything name brand. No BS. I'm a sale guy. It must be on sale at every corner.
Yep.
I'm not buying nothing at market value. Nothing.
Nope.
Because what is the real value? What is the real value? I invest money into things like all this stuff you see behind me that will help keep the brand alive, keep the message alive, keep me creative. This is my therapy. Right. This podcast is a form of my therapy. This podcast is for the people. It's about talking to the people, about engaging with the people. With that being said about talking and engaging people, I want to bring up a great one that Tyson brought up. Okay. This is excellent. So this is for my allies out there, and this is what you should be doing. And I commend this young woman for stepping up and dealing with racist parents, to be real. And I've been hearing this a lot from a lot of kids. They go home and their parents like, meh, 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 meh. And the kids are the moral compass of their house.
Yep.
And their parents are actually they have no choice but to listen. They don't want to lose their children.
Right.
So they have no choice in a lot of ways but to listen. And this is important, imperative that we share these moments with the world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's bring this one up real quick, because this is very interesting. She was not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Suck off the system.
They have been oppressed. They have not been given.
But there's always filthy animals. And
You're calling people of color black animals.
Can you shut your mouth for a minute?
No, racism is not okay.
Boom. Shots.
Do you know how many?
I actually no. Shut up.
No.
Can you shut your mouth for a minute?
No.
Meet Haley C. She's a teen TikToker who's part of this challenge where Gen Z white kids film themselves having discussions about race with their parents. And suddenly you see why this country is so backward, oppressive, and regressive. Afterwards, I'm going to play a clip from another one of these videos, this time.
No.
Animals. You're calling them animals.
I'm talking.
Are you kidding me?
You didn't let me finish.
That's not
I'm
okay.
talking about the
No,
children
no
part.
matter what,
Shit.
that's not okay. No matter what, it's
It
not
is
okay.
okay.
Racism is not okay. Why do you think that racism is okay?
All right,
It's like, oh, that's mine.
Haley, I'm gonna look at.
That's mine.
No, I'm looking at
That's
statistics
my
right
medal. I
now.
gotta get an
Your statistics they can be warped. Statistics can be warped. You want me to show you videos?
So why are my?
Do you want me to show you videos of cops?
Why is?
I will do
why
it.
is statistics wrong?
Because they can be warped. I'm not giving statistics right now. They can be warped. Personal experiences can't.
Because this is actually putting it into play. When you
Do I need to show you a bunch of videos of cops attacking protesters, peaceful protesters?
just listen to this. This is the number.
You mean I'm informed and educated? Yes, I am. Mom, I was watching political stuff and you said to turn that off because you don't want to hear about it. That means that I am educated on it and you are not.
I'm sick of hearing it.
The fact that you can have that ignorance, ignorance for the majority is bliss.
Okay.
Ignorance for the minority
So I'm
is
looking at statistics
destruction.
that are wrong. This is just pure wrong information out there.
Just give me the statistic.
In 2017, 457 white people were shot to death by the police in the United States.
Okay.
223 were black.
76% of the population is white. 13% is black.
I
If-
get that.
If they were being killed at the exact same rate by police officers, the rate of black people being killed would be 8.9, but it's not, it's 24%. The rate of white people being killed should be about where it is. So they're being killed at a higher rate. There's more white people, meaning that the amount of people killed by cops who are white would be higher.
The reaction of the person. I'm not saying
Because
it's,
they're
I'm
tired.
not saying it's
They're tired
right.
of being treated
I'm
that
not
way.
saying it's right.
Good.
But if they started teaching them that this is the world that we live in, you don't want to be killed. Why do you think your friend's father taught him that?
Because
He
so
don't-
that
so
his
that he-
black son doesn't end up dead like Tamir.
Because he doesn't want him to grow up with the chip on his shoulder
He
that
doesn't
no
want his
police
black son to end up dead.
Exactly.
She felt
That's not okay. Why do you think that's okay?
Because
felt that.
Why is it something that you're okay with? Why is that
I'm
a
not-
reality that
who's
you're okay
saying
with?
I'm okay with it.
But you are.
No, I'm not. I'm
So
saying,
stand against it. So stand against it. If you're not okay with it, so
You
stand
wanna know
against
when I'll
it.
stand against it? When the black people in the ghetto stop carrying an illegal weapon. When the black people in the ghetto stop murdering each other.
I'll start caring about cops when they stop killing black people.
I'll start caring about black people when they stop killing cops.
What?
Okay,
Yeah,
now
right?
jump into it. It took me a few days to
Hold on, we're gonna
the
keep this one
story,
going.
the rest of the filthy and
There were some good statistics in
That
that.
those
We might have to touch on
makes
those
a
in a later
claim
episode.
that black police officers.
There we go.
So as we
There
were
was another
there
example
were
that she had in here I wanted to see.
Yep, towards the end.
like this, there's painful, embarrassing dialogue
An idea.
to just the overall cowardice. Just listen to what it is that she says to
These
her
young
daughter.
kids are stepping it up.
helping you getting all these ideas in your head, or I don't know what.
These ideas?
Well, yeah, or thoughts or whatever it is.
Come on. People are dying. People are dying. This is not an idea. This is a real
People-
thing.
Okay, it's people out there. What does it concern you is the thing.
Mm.
Are you
I'm
serious?
serious.
If
It's
you're-
not your family. It's gonna happen. It's life.
That's not the way life should be.
It's not our fault. My God, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna do my part to try to change it.
You're not gonna change nothing, Marissa. You're not gonna change nothing. My God, what is wrong with you?
What is wrong with me?
Yes, what is wrong with you? There's nothing you can change. What are you gonna change? Really?
Wow, you know what? That was painful to listen to. It was excruciating because,
and I want you to understand. So, like, if you don't, that is so different. Understand the difference. You have homes being fractured right now, white homes. We talked about this earlier. You have black cops who have biracial children that are on the force, that are conflicted because it's like, do I stand for this blue wall or my black children?
Right. It's a tough
Things are changing, people. Things are changing. I'm forever grateful to watch those young women fight against their parents who have already given up and think this is the way it should be for melanated people. That's ridiculous.
It is. And now, here's the thing. So we had a white young female and we had a Latina young female. And I want people to realize the conversations are different, but the undertone is the same.
Bingo.
And so over here on the white side, we have blatant racism and otherism, right? We have blatant those people, and no real accepting and, well, I'm playing a passive role by not admitting it and saying, you know what, it is messed up, and then standing for it. And then you have stay out of itism in the Latino family. And she's like, well, Marissa, it is what it is. Like, what are you going to do about it? That's not your family. That's not your battle. That's not your fight. So it's not necessarily outrightly going, yeah, those people are getting what they deserve. But it's like, well, baby, not you, though. As long as it's not happening to you, stay out of it. And so that's how we create complacency, even in minority races who are victimized themselves. Because they're like, we got it bad enough. We don't need to team up with the people who got it worse. Like, leave us out of it. Just, if you're going to go after them and leave me alone. And until we get past that, we can't progress as a humanity altogether, as a society altogether. We have to realize stay out of itism is what's keeping it happening. For the racial people in between. Get Out. I talked about Get Out with my dad, and I had to send him the clips because he didn't watch the movie Get Out. And I talked about the fact that the George Floyd case paralleled the scene from Get Out, where you have white people that invited one Asian male to their thing. And they were all asking about his physical attributes. Like, what do you play golf? Do you do this? What's your diet like? How much can you bench press? All these different things. The female asking, well, is it true what they say? You have the white people doing all that, but they felt confident enough to invite an Asian person. And that Asian male took the time to ask him about his experience, the black experience. And what he did was he went to the only other black person in that room. And that happened to be a black person that had whose brain in their body? A white man's brain. And said, yo, bro, help me out. Explain to them. They're asking me about the black experience. Tell me about your black experience. And he says, my black experience has so far been good. He went to the one black person who he thought could have the same thing. And he snapped the photo. And when he snapped that photo, he snapped out of it and was like, yo, get out, bro. And they took him away to re-lobotomize him to get him back to the white man's brain. The George Floyd case, you had 4 people there. The Asian officer was there, but he wasn't there. He was looking away. He was keeping people out. AKA the Asian dude who found out about that party could have went to the police. He could have said, nah, they're doing some crazy stuff to black people over there. But he didn't. He joined in, even though he didn't get the brain and do all that stuff. He participated in them getting it done by staying silent about it. And then the one black cop that was there with George Floyd, he had his blue brain on. He was on there like, nah, I'm on my side with my blue brothers right now. You had 2 white police officers, an Asian police officer, and a black officer. And if you watch that scene and Get Out, keeping that George Floyd case in your mind, you can see the mentalities of all of those people right there and them their active roles. That is literally, that's not life. That's not art imitating life. That is life imitating art.
Period.
It exists.
What's funny is because, like, I did have a few elders that dropped some jewels along the way. And some of them came from the seediest backgrounds all the time. But what they said is, where do you think these movie concepts come from? Their roots are based in some aspect of the reality that we're living in. They're based on influences and things that these people see. You know, Get Out is a great, and I mean, I advise you to go watch that movie again. It's serious, man. I want to commend Amy, aka Siren. My wife has been completely astounded by what you did when she saw you take on your family members as well, on their stance. I don't want to go too deep because I know like family dynamics are different, but she took on as close as a family member as she possibly could take on in a public forum and let them know that's not cool. It's just not cool. No disrespect, but that's not the way this is going to be. It's not cool. And like, you know, like she said, you youth are our heroes because you inspired my wife. You know what I mean? She's so inspired by you. You know what I mean? And look at this. This is a love fest here. You guys are, come on, guys. I'm not trying to get emotional. Chill out. Come on, my pregnancy hormones. Yeah, right. Chill out, yo. I'm taking on some.
You're crying,
right? I'm taking on some of them hormones. Chill out, yo. Art such as movies are always direct parallel to current experience. Absolutely. Yeah, please, if you get a chance, watch Get Out. But don't watch it for just the entertainment value. Understand the artistic nuances of the messaging placed there, because that's what okay, so like all Black experiences are not created equal. So what the opposition will do is find the one that has integrated fully into their way of life and benefited from it, such as a Candace Owens, and utilize them as their speaking platform to make it seem like it ain't as bad as it is out here. But Candace will one day probably do something that they don't like, and she will be reminded she's a Black woman.
Oh, yeah.
It happens all the time. They use you, they throw you away. So don't be caught up in the people that aren't, you know, because we're not a monolith. We're not. That's another thing. Like when people see Black, we're not just one type of person. We're not just one mind. Even right now, as we're trying to figure it out, people are having disagreements between what's the effective approach, because we're not a monolith. We have different feelings. We're no different from white people who feel differently about things. So don't put us all into one bag, because when you do that, when you think that, if you ask a Black person, what can an ally do? Ask more than one. Ask more than one. When people come to me, I say, yo, I have this way, but you might want to ask Tyson, or I think this, but you might want to ask now Eric. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be a mediator between getting that dialogue back the way it used to be, where Eric can feel like he has the proper ability to speak without having to poke the bear necessarily. And I understand why he feels that way. 100% people, I understand why. Because if you've been in your community, you've been fighting and pioneering for things for 20 plus years. And when you were mild-mannered, no one listened. Then when you see blood on the leaves and you're speaking up, you get agitated. It could create mental health issues. So, you know, we have all different approaches. We all have different approaches. These men, we're crazy. I'm telling you, like, I love y'all. Stop complimenting me. I ain't shit.
Exactly.
I ain't shit, yo. I've seen it. I told Ty I've watched it again. It was crazy. Yeah, just little things like you missed, like the part where the girls eating the cereal, and just it's little nuances. You know what I'm saying? If you missed anything and you might feel like I didn't catch everything, then go to YouTube
and then
and type in, you know, the Easter eggs. You know what I mean? They have videos that will literally break it down to you. All over this way. Come on now, cut it out. Y'all tearing up. Come on. Try and be strong. Not everyone is equally educated on these topics. They don't teach any of this in school. Without mentors in my life, I personally would have never learned the Black experience. And listen, I had to learn who Mansa Musa was outside of school. I learned who Nat Turner was outside of school. They teach you MLK in school, but not Malcolm X, really.
And if they do, now I want to reference this tweet that came up. I'll read it so we don't have to bring it up. But it says American history books are like slavery was bad, but then Lincoln fixed it. Then segregation was bad, but Malcolm X didn't need to be so mean about it. But MLK went on a big walk and fixed racism. The last racist left killed him, but then he went to jail. The end. Schools that I remember.
I remember it being like that. Yep.
Yeah, you were like, oh, okay.
Yep.
And that's what school taught many people. And that's when they talk about it being an indoctrination system in public school. To a degree, they're correct. When you're teaching everybody the same thing, nobody really gets to catch the truth unless your parents give it to you. Like my parents gave it to me. I had to learn that outside of school. My mom, she got her master's in early education, so she was grabbing books, going like, "Hey, this is what this is. This is what that is." You know what I mean? And you need to realize that, and we need to start teaching our kids and taking more accountability for what our kids don't learn in school.
Think about how many of us were kids and played cowboys and Indians without even thinking about it.
Right.
Think about it. Just think about it. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We were children. We didn't know. A structure was being put into us. A belief system was being instilled in us. And none of our elders was really around to correct us and say, bro, what? That's slaughter you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Or cops and robbers, even. I know that's a simple game, but I'll tell you, in my family, I was darker. And I always wanted to be the cop. And for some reason, my cousin would be like, well, no, you got to be the robber. And it'd always be my lighter skinned cousins.
I was never the cop.
Yo, yeah. I mean,
I grew up on the block.
I never got to be the cop neither.
I grew up on the block, so I was not having it.
But when you look at the when you look at the dynamic of the game, even within a multi-color spectrum family, sometimes that takes a toll on the kids where they start going, no, the black one's the robber. What do you mean? So you can't be the cop. The cops aren't black. And when you saw, there's a video circulating of young children looking at baby dolls, and they're talking about which baby is the good baby and which baby is the bad baby. And you see the black children and the white children both picking the black baby as the bad baby. Mm-hmm. Where did they learn that? They were once that black baby.
It's subconscious biases that we feed people, man. It's subconscious biases that we feed people. That's why it is imperative, like when we see black Miss Universes and stuff like that, because it changes that narrative a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Right. We live in a time where, the Loving story, like I think it's Ed Loving. There was a biracial couple that got married and they were being harassed in their town. You know, the old tropes of being in interracial relationships. Well, now Kanye and Kim are like revered. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like we have made some societal shifts. We just got more work to do. You know what I'm saying? And don't feel defeated because we're going to get there. Again, my school, when I was coming up, I sit back and I think about it. I'm like, yo, like y'all really wanted to make me proud of Paul Revere's ride while some of them had slaves in the field.
Right.
Like, that's crazy to me. That's crazy to me.
Or overlook Crispus Attucks.
Completely overlook them. I learned about them, but it was a moment.
It was like
Crispus Attucks, first black man. Next.
Right.
Next white guy.
Right.
And yeah, that's a fact. Like, if we're teaching history, we should be teaching all people's history all year round. Mm-hmm. All people's history all year round.
It's all a part of the fabric that got us to where we are today. And to not appreciate that diminishes the role that each ethnicity, each group, each person played to get us here.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we talked about that earlier. We definitely need to defund some of these police departments, or as we like to use it for reallocate. You know what I mean? It's a less contentious word with the same result. And that's what really they've been doing. I mean, how much money goes into we are overspending in some capacity on military. Mm-hmm. But because let me tell you something, I just found out, and again, ignorance is bliss, but you learn things and you accept that information and you move on. A lot of the military budget ends up trickling down into the police departments. Mm-hmm. We're militarizing our police department. What does a police department need with a tank?
Right. Shouldn't be on the list.
What?
rocket
Why?
launcher,
What do you need a
grenade
rocket?
launcher.
Yeah, a rocket launcher. No, what are you
need
doing?
that.
What are you doing?
Like, this is your community. This is supposed to be the neighborhood you serve. What you blowing up shit for?
Research everything. I'm half Native American, and I didn't learn anything about. Oh, please! They teach you a fake Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm over here thinking we cool. I'm watching
Yeah.
Pocahontas like it's just around the river bend, and then shit got crazy. I was like, yo, what's going on?
Right.
What's going on? Why are these people
John
like
Smith people tripping?
Yeah, they was tripping. And people don't understand those little nuances in those movies. That movie was about genocide. That movie was about the annihilation and decimation of people and their rightful claim to their land.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff going on. Brendan Goods, the saddest thing. The only history they teach is whitewash fairy tales because it's his story and they've been doing it for too long. And we forget about her story. We forget, we every year for Women's History, because we say history, people say Women's History Month. We say Women's Herstory Month, and we highlight these women. There's been great women behind every single movement, period. You understand what I'm saying? Whether it's and I don't give a crap if you was just if I'm out here in the streets and I'm doing what I'm doing, y'all praising me, then take a moment to praise my wife for being at home with my daughter, pregnant, holding the home down while I'm out there doing that. You feel what I'm saying? That's still a role. And then I can't even keep her in the house. She come outside like, nah, I'm coming. I'm coming with the man. Sometimes I wish she would understand it's a little bit more intense for me when she's there because I be trying to be focused on the mission. But if somebody who's ignorant out there and might look like me disrespects or harms you, well, all bets are off for this moment, just that moment. But
exactly.
Black history definitely is American history. It should be taught year round, and these kids should be educated in the truth. See, here's what we got to get to. We got to get to the point where America needs to 8 Mile itself. I've 8 Mile my life, right? I hate to use that as a context, but that's something I learned from that movie. That ass, like, yo, just put it all on Front Street. We messed up. We started off in a crazy way. We've been trying to make progression over time. We still suck at it. And now if we just admit that we suck at it, we can get better at it. You can't be afraid to suck at something long enough to get good, but you'll never get great if you don't admit you suck at it.
Right.
People always saying how people aren't born racist. It's sad when you hear things like that, how little kids think that already, that their parents and community have affected their process that way.
And this is the thing. We don't often realize that the programming is unconscious and subconscious, that it's happening without it being on purpose, that we see when you only see models that are thin and white, you start to go, that's what models look like, so I can't be that. And so just as conscious as those ads and marketing were put out there, we have to be just as conscious with the way that we put positive imagery out there for more people in more diverse groups. So when people are like, oh, you're really going to sit here and go, oh, they need more black leads. Yes, we have to do that. They need more Latino leads, more Asian movies. Yes, we have to do that because it was done in the inverse manner to make us think that we couldn't do those things. So now we have to purposefully make that shift. It's not just checking off the box, but that's where it starts.
And I need you guys to understand something like, what Alex is saying here is a common thing that people don't understand.
Right.
The military will dump its tools into the police department so they can gain more funding the following year by saying we need more ammunition. We need more of this. We need more of that. And that's a game that's played across a lot of corporations and businesses. They dump their assets into other things and things like that to create a vacuum to get more funding. And that's a poor allocation of funds. We really have to start checking the books. I mean, how long have we been sitting here post 9/11 and reading how much money the Defense Department? I mean, how do you lose billions?
Right. Yeah. Where's that at?
How? If you work at Dunks and your drawer's $25 short,
they all over you.
That's your ass. But the Department of Defense can lose billions?
Just like that. Poof.
And we still have no answers. These are billions that can be changed in our communities. These are billions that can keep art programming in our school, music programming in our school. What are we doing to our children where we're allowing them to remove this programming from our schools?
And they just did that recently. They just removed more arts. And
what are we doing? We're removing physical education?
Michelle Obama fought hard for nutrition and physical stuff while the Obamas were in. I will say that was one platform that I was like, yo, she's killing it on the move side. killing it.
Yeah, we gotta change how we're putting the energy. You know, I don't want to put any of my biases into my child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing the best I can. You know what I'm saying? My conversation, how I talk about things has changed.
Right.
Am I still a little ignorant sometimes when I talk with my man Tyson? We talk back and forth. Absolutely.
Right.
Am I acknowledging that so I can understand that was ignorant? Let me work on that. Absolutely. That's the best that we can ask for in a lot of scenarios.
And I want to touch on something small. Like a lot of times parents won't like something. Like, let's just say it's you get a burger.
Right, Brenda? My bad, Brenda. But going up there like on God, like where that 20?
Where did I put that? Right, you doing
20?
You out here doing a Macarena trying to find it.
I'm doing head, shoulders, knees, and toes looking for my 20. Right. Like, hold on.
Exactly. But so now I want to touch on like not passing on your own biases to your children in a very simple way. So sometimes parents won't like pickles or onions on their burgers. Mm-hmm. So they automatically start ordering or making their children's burgers without what they don't like.
Mm-hmm. Instead
of saying, let me just put it on there and let the child say, I don't like this right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that. We have to look at what we're teaching our children the same way. We have to look at what are we putting into them. You may not like X. Do not go and purposely shield your child from that just because you don't like it. Mm-hmm. Expose them and explain. Have those conversations so that they learn how to have those conversations with someone else who may have those opposing views or opposing thoughts or beliefs, and Absolutely. Still have the respect. Because when you do it with your child, they know at the end of the day you still love them, so they can realize that my mom had this tough conversation with me, my dad had this tough conversation with me, and guess what? The next day they still made dinner.
Yep.
They still fed me. They still hugged me. They still read me a story. So they realize that when they go and have those difficult conversations or disagreement with people in the streets, that it's still capable, or it's still a possibility for that person to still care about you and to still love you and to still do all of that. Because oftentimes we think that when we fight with someone, the love goes away.
Absolutely.
And we have to realize that's not the case if we don't treat it like that.
Yep. And, you know, again, there's so much going on. Again, I want to shout out some of the people out here trying to make a difference and doing what they can. So, you know, I want to support some businesses out here fighting for us. I want to give a shout out to Hypnotic Prints. It's a local shop out here in New Bedford. They've been doing their thing, printing a lot of these shirts that you see everybody wearing in the community. So I want to make sure I give them their moment, their shine. Go check them out on Facebook, Hypnotic Prints and Designs. As you can see, they're getting them fresh off the press for us.
Hot.
They're not playing. And I'm going to be real. Like, they donated a lot of the shirts to the movement so these kids can raise funds. But they're also a business. So we got to balance it. You know what I'm saying? So if you get a chance, you're interested in getting some of their dope gear that they're putting together, please, by all means, come pick up some of these shirts. You know what I'm saying? From Hypnotic Prints. Check them out. On Facebook, super dope company, holding it down for us. Really appreciate them. And also, let's support Black businesses. So, you know, you can always support the Dinner Club Pod, as I asked for up before. We're a small, modest operation. You know, we're self-produced, self-contained, and, you know, we're not about feeding off the clickbait.
Right.
We're not going to do that. We can easily come on here and say something crazy, make it go viral, and da-da-da-da-da. That's counterintuitive and counterproductive to who we are as people and individuals, to our souls. It's not who we are. So, you know, you can always help out and follow the Dinner Club Pod. And you can always, you know, send something over to Cash App. We appreciate anything and everything. You know, most of this stuff we put back into the community anyway, to be real. So, you know, because, you know, we're two brothers that's another thing I want people to understand. So, like, far too often, Black people, when they get into are perceived that when they get into a certain level of comfort in life, that they're not going to be committed to the cause. And we wanted to change that narrative. I'm very comfortable, to be clear. I have a beautiful home. I have a beautiful wife. I have a beautiful children. I'm working out the dynamics with my son's mothers and getting that reestablished. I'm in the community. I make my money doing my own business. I help the community. We fight to put things together for the kids in the community, be paid for their arts and their talents. I could easily sit this out. That's not who we are. Right. That's not who we are. It means a little bit more to us that we have, but are willing to still give and still sacrifice and still fight for the cause however we can. So, you know, for more of our Black peers out there, our melanated brothers and sisters, we need you. The kids need to see you. They need to see Black people in a position of privilege on the front lines as well, because we do acknowledge that in the paradigm of Blackness, we have privilege now.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, having property tax is a privilege.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
It's a bitch, but it's a privilege.
It's a bitch. Living on a third of, I didn't get my 40 acres, but I'm living on a quarter of an acre.
Didn't catch it.
It's a privilege. You know what I'm saying? I don't need no mules. It's kind of far gone for that, but I got a lawnmower. It's a privilege.
Right. Exactly. It's out there and mowing the grass like a mule would eat it. So.
If you want to support another Black business, please support my man, yellowhatlabs.com. Support Tyson, man. This is Black owned business. You can check out what everything's about. This guy is definitely a marketing guru, a great advisor. You know what I'm saying? And again, we're all fallible human beings. None of us are perfect. We're all trying to work out our dynamics. It's easy to judge in these days. We're both just individuals trying to do the best we can. We came from rough backgrounds and a bunch of stuff that we did. And again, we have a dope space at 246 Union Street. If you don't know, we opened up a business at 246 Union Street called the Communal Space. We were actually going to have our vinyl up, but then all of this crap happened, so we haven't changed it over. A lot of people are still calling it Levitate Wellness, whatever. We're still, but it's the only Black business downtown that has an Pan-African flag hanging from it. Yep. When we learned about Paul Cuffey and a lot of the history out here, besides from the Frederick Douglass stuff, Paul Cuffey, again, two different approaches. Fred Douglass had a great approach, but Paul Cuffey was not playing.
Yeah, he was putting the bags behind it.
True Pan-African.
He was traveling back and forth between Sierra Leone and here, trying to globalize New Bedford. You know what I mean? Trying to globalize the ports and really make it, hey, we want to serve the world. And we want Africa to be a part of that trade so they can start getting some of their wealth back and reestablishing themselves. And unfortunately, he got shut down by a lot of people.
Absolutely. So the communal space in itself was to, no one put $1 in to help us do that. But I will say, a older white male ally provided
recipient.
Provided the opportunity for us to get into that space and empowered us, not enabled us to have that space and be able to do what we do, to have equity at the table.
Right.
And since then, it went from him having a Zen business to him we completely took over the business. Now it's us. It's all ours. Yep. And we're trying to start a Black library. So as you can see here, we have a small collection that started. I've been promoting to people that if you have any Black literature that you're willing to part ways with, please get in contact with us. We're trying to build a Black library and a repository of knowledge for the children in the community. And also, it's deeper than that. We want financial literacy books, anything. You know what I'm saying? Anything that's about positive vibes and energy, Black comics, as you can see with the Black Panther, all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to pioneer our leaders in the community. If you see us, we got our, we're not playing games. We're putting it in our window. That's some of our one of our shirt brands behind there.
I am right there.
We're storing, stuff for the community. That's neither here nor there. I don't even care to talk about that because that's just a part of who we are. But again, the most important thing, prideful thing, is we're about love. If you can see this piece in the window, done by Mandy Fraser from the community, from the LGBT community, holding us down, true ally. And we thank her for that piece. That's a staple in the window, so we're there. And we're about, our people. We can take pride in our people and take pride in other people as well. That's when we really get the true progress, is when we're all taking pride in each other's cultures and respecting them for what they are. I do not have Venmo, sir. I have PayPal, other things like that. But, right now we just been mainly sticking with the Cash App. 4107 put out a list of Black businesses, the stories on Facebook page. Yep, absolutely. We plan on getting ourselves up there, but we want to get our vinyl right. So now that things are slowed down a little bit and things are starting to reopen, you'll see us up with the vinyl in about the next, 3 weeks or so. We were very meticulous on the logo and everything that we put together to make sure that we represent it. But the communal space is not about us. It's about you. It's about young Black people having affordable spaces in the downtown area to hold their meetings so that they can gain equity in some of those businesses. You can use it for conferences. We're also creating affordable art galleries because a lot of the community is priced out of being able to be a part of art auctions and etc. So we are definitely putting together things that are affordable for the community. We've been blessed that we don't make anything off of this business. Like, to be flat out blunt with you,
Yeah.
we hunt through our shirt businesses, Yellow Hat Labs, doing the other things that we do. But the communal space is not about gaining capital. The communal space is about providing equity, security, and an understanding that you belong in your downtown districts as well in your own communities.
Right.
Why allow yourself to feel like we need more representation of us downtown? You will create a mental block that makes you feel like you don't belong in those spaces. You belong where you take yourself. Somebody stole our flag off of our business. We could have been like, you know what? We're going to wrap this up. We're going to keep it moving. We brought a new flag and raised it higher and represent ourselves even more. We're not here to play any games about, we're not, you know, one thing I appreciate again about growing up in the hood is that you can't deter me. You can't deter me with weak actions. You can't even deter me with violence. I've been through it. I'm accustomed to it. So we're not going to be deterred from the mission. You can't deter me with nativism because my actions will show you that I love your community as much as you do. I married a woman of your community. I have children that are going to be raised in your community. I am a part of your community. So nativism, racism, whatever the isms are, you're not going to deter us from doing what we feel in our hearts is the most effective ways to help. And we're not going to be self-righteous about it. That is your space that we're creating for you to utilize as youth in the community. And today was the first day that the youth actually sat down and talked about some of the issues in that space. And I'm extremely proud of that moment because that's what it is. I don't care about none of the stuff I did in the past. I met my idols. And when they say don't meet your idols, in a lot of cases, that's true, bro. Because you find out a lot of people are pump faking like crazy. You know what I'm saying? And it's to each their own. I don't even have time to waste the energy on that. All I can do is recalibrate what my energy is going to be, what our message is going to be as we move forward. Be more about we than me. Be more about us than I. You know what I'm saying? And if I am dealing with me or I, it's about how I can add myself into the mix, how we can add ourselves into the mix. So again, if you want to support us, man, you can come check us out. It's at 246 Union Street, New Bedford, Mass. It's called the Communal Space. We do have a Facebook page up. Again, COVID hit right at the time that we got all of this stuff going, so it kind of delayed us. We were planning on having a grand opening, super dope art pieces done in the gallery that are very unique. But we'll be doing that as time opens back up. We'll be back on it. We'll let you know when we're going to have a grand opening with people in the space when we absolutely feel it's safest to.
Safe. Yes.
We are in no rush. We're still paying the rent. It is what it is. We're in no rush. We're not going nowhere. But we're super proud of the local businesses that are taking their time to help the cause and help these young people. I want to shout out. And again, if I miss any names, do not take it no kind of way. I want to shout out Monique. I want to shout out Shakira. And again, these kids will tell you that it's not about them. It's about the community. But I must shout out my heroes. So Monique, Shakira, Tyrell, Christian, Marcus. Who am I missing? There's so many people. Sade. There's so many people. Jen DeBarros out there doing her thing, fighting for the legal side. I even want to shout out the people that have some different views. I might not agree with Nick, but I shout out Nick because at least he's willing to be at the table and share his perspective. DJ on Haley for being out there and doing his 1-2, providing the sound system and the ability for these people to do their presentations and getting the truth out there. I want to shout out my wife. I want to shout out John. I want to shout out Kerry. I want to shout out Mandy, Nicole, Eric Andrade, Ricardo. I mean, the list goes on. I just want to give a big major shout out to our community for actually leading the way to get Dartmouth and Fairhaven to reevaluate. Like, wow, because I know certain people, not all that are supporting us, but certain people expected us to act out of character.
Right.
And guess what? We didn't give them that ammunition. So you have a good day with that because we're not having it. And we are actually empowering other communities to step out. I'm going to give you a perfect example. So you saw that article I put up earlier. Dartmouth had the picture of me and my daughter. And someone said, and old me would have responded. Someone said, oh my goodness, it's child abuse to bring your child to a riot. No one's rioting in Dartmouth.
Right.
It's a peaceful protest. We socially distance. I have a mask on. My daughter has a mask on. My wife has a mask on. All my friends have masks on.
Mm-hmm.
I can get into the BS and argue back and forth with this person, but that's exactly what the goal is, to mentally drain me to the point that I get deterred from the mission. And I refuse to.
Right.
I refuse to. We refuse to. We will not be deterred. We will not squander this moment.
Nope.
Even if we have to be the example nationwide, we will not squander this moment. Some places are burning, and I'm going to be bluntly honest with you. I understand, because some places are far behind the progress that we have here. Yep. Far behind. And their frustration is real. You cannot, I said, so this is my perspective on the looters and rioters, right? You cannot tell a group of marginalized people to remain lawful while they have to watch a man with a knee on his neck for 9 minutes die, crying for his dead mother.
Right.
You have to have some empathy. It is not my approach at all. But motherfuckers is going to hit the Gucci store because they've been wanting to do it the whole time and been trying to follow the law, and the law is being broken against them.
Right. Against a human being, not against a product, not against something that can be replaced, but against a human life. Far more valuable than anything you can produce.
I'll put it back up on the screen for you, Alex. Again, no solicitation. Really don't care. You know what I'm saying? If you do, you do. If you don't, you don't. We find a way to put the funds back into what we're doing and support the movement and support community stuff. We make our own, but you know, we appreciate it. If you want to support, if everybody's talking about supporting Black business, then by all means do so, because we can always use the support. We can use the empowerment. So if you do want to support, you can hit us up. And again, make sure you follow @DinnerClubPod. Let me see what else we got here. I missed it. What did you do? My daughter won't even look at a vegetable. What's funny is that I got she won't eat vegetables to save her life, but she loves green smoothies. So that's where we get them veggies in.
Kingston's the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't gonna eat them vegetables, but you pop that green smoothie juice out. What is it? That green goodness.
Green goodness.
Oh, she's all over that. You know what I'm saying? All over that. So again, you know, there was some other stuff that we were going to get into. I don't want to get in. We'll save some of those. I want to just get on this last topic because I think it's pretty interesting. People should know this. I want to touch on the DEA one that you were talking about.
Oh, yes. Okay. So there was a program brought out here a little bit ago that was being beta tested called DEA 360. So what they wanted to do was dive into community organizations that deal with marginalized populations, mostly people of color, and they wanted to get what I kind of looked at as tagging the kids, saying like who knows who and who knows what, who's doing what in their neighborhood, and we want to befriend them. All right, essentially creating a program that would create informants is what I felt like it was, and further marginalizing the community. But now the DEA is now allowed to spy on you if you attended a protest. So with this whole BLM, Black Lives Matter movement that is getting so many Black and brown people out of the house, as well as obviously white people and other people, but this now allows them to essentially tag the very population that they were going to before go into the communities and say, hey, we want to talk to we want to talk to the kids in your program. We want to befriend them. Now they don't have to do that. By hook or by crook is something, Malcolm X said, by hook or by crook.
Mm-hmm.
One way or the other, they're going to find a way in. And the DEA 360 program was not necessarily well received. I can speak on it coming out here to New Bedford. It wasn't exactly received well by a lot of the community activists and a lot of the community programs. And so right now I'm looking at this as almost, again, the hook or by crook. One way or the other, they were going to find a way to get to their end goal of penetrating into Black and brown communities and marginalized communities and poor communities, and figure out where the crimes were being committed and things like that. And one thing we have to realize is that police communities are going to have increased crimes. There's going to be increased reporting, period. So it's going to make it look worse when you keep focusing on that area. And it just feels like that's what's happening all over again.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, let's read some of this. So, in its request for extraordinary powers, the DEA cites the violence and looting of the widespread national protest. According to a memo leaked to BuzzFeed News, the Drug Enforcement Administration has been granted temporary but widespread powers to conduct surveillance and collect intelligence on citizens exercising their constitutional right to protest the killing of George Floyd. In its request for extraordinary powers, the DEA cites the violence and looting of the widespread national protests. Police agencies in certain areas of the country have struggled to maintain and or restore order, the memo reads. On Sunday, a senior Justice Department official approved the ask for 14 days effective immediately, BuzzFeed reports. A spokesperson for the DEA did not return a request to comment by the publication.
Yep. And so I want people to realize that is the Drug Enforcement Agency that is using looting and rioting to enforce on people. Looting and rioting may be a crime, but it is not a crime of drugs. It's not drugs, bro. It is theft.
But the kicker is, it's your constitutional right to protest.
Mm-hmm.
This is the problem that we're having. The overstep of power in our government that decides that they're going to, for 14 days. Yeah, that's what they said last time. The NSA was doing stuff during 9/11 with the Patriot Act and was still suffering from those things now.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be fooled. Something's always, you can say 14 days, but who's really there to make sure that they shut down after 14 days? And what happens with all that data they collected after that time?
Mm-hmm.
We're on a list.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't care.
Right.
I've been on a list. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is.
Struggle,
but we're on a list. You know what I'm saying? And it's a sad thing when you express your constitutional right and you use it under the guise of looting and etc. to bag everybody and monitor everybody.
And this is where, again, it goes back to the thought process of when our allies mean well, but the violence that they're displaying, and I don't think it's 100% white people, but from my experience and what we've seen, white people are the antagonizers in this. They're using what you're doing to further marginalize the black and brown bodies you say you care about. Think about that. You think you're there helping by being the enforcer, by being antagonistic, by being like, I'm ready to go rah, 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 rah. And they are literally using that to go, all right, thank you so much, Tad, for letting us get to Jamal. That's what they're doing. So be smarter out there. Everyone be smarter out there. But in particularly with this knowledge of people attending the protests are now being tagged for at least 14 days. That's what I'll change it to. At least 14 days. Be smarter.
This is crazy. Like, this includes covert surveillance, sharing intelligence with local and state law enforcement to intervene. Don't they understand this is exactly what we're protesting against? Like, this is what we're protesting against. We're protesting against all of this big brother oversight that you have over, not considering the fact that you work for us.
Right.
What does the Drug Enforcement Agency have to do with protest?
Right. And
now watch skyrocket in drug arrest.
Right.
Watch, because this is a way that they, and mind you, if you do your homework, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. We're talking about things that were proven. The DEA has been caught doing drug deals.
Right.
Because when you know this as a fact, when this has been reported on, it is in the public lexicon, it's in the public profile that the DEA agents have been complicit.
Yep.
What do you think happened to all the poppy fields in Afghanistan? Then all of a sudden you got mad Afghan heroin in the streets.
Yep.
Do people don't even understand that the Rockefellers during a time when opioids were legal made a lot of money off of selling opioids? Some of the biggest corporations that exist now, or the biggest entities that you don't hear their names because they're not a Target or an Amazon, is to deviate your attention away from the people that got long money. Long money.
Outstretched hand, man.
Outstretched hand. That are controlling the paradigm that we live in. They want you to attack Bezos. They want you to attack Bill Gates. Nah, Soros is one of those long hands, though.
But he's one of the long hands that we actually identify.
Exactly. But there's people behind them with longer money.
Rothschilds.
All day the Rothschilds made money off of opioids. You know what I'm saying? Selling tea and opioids. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So again, we got to be very careful about the oversight that we have with people making these kind of decisions. We're in a very, very slippery place right now where things are happening that just they do this every time in the name of national security.
Mm-hmm.
They do this every time. I wanted to share the link. I didn't want to be, insensitive. I want to make sure I shared the link to the New Bedford Black Lives Matter rallies. Justice for Malcolm Gracia. There's different ways people are pronouncing it. But I think it's Gracia. And again, you can check out that link. You can go in there and help out. I want to explain to my allies: do not subvert the group. Go in and ask how you can be of service and how you can help. Yes. Don't go in and telling and pushing. You know what I'm saying? These kids live these experiences. So remember that first and foremost. And don't suggest to them as an ally in your first response is to be violence. Check your European state or check your white privilege or whatever that is. Understand that some of those biases to be outright violent or just historical and embedded in a lot of the DNA. Seti, there was a lot of great conversation. You'll be able to go back and check it out. Yes, because we're about to actually get up out of here soon, but I always appreciate you supporting. There's been a lot of great things we talk about, man. If Tyson wants to touch on anything else, I will let him. We'll save Brandy Lachey's post about this young man, Kendrick Johnson, for another time. It's very graphic. I'm mentally spent personally. I can't do this one. But if you do remember Kendrick Johnson, just to give you a quick synopsis, this is the kid that was found rolled up in a gym mat and nobody ever saw what was going on with him and all this other stuff. But yeah, man, it's crazy. If there's anything else, you know what I mean?
No, nothing else, man. So I'll hit him with the sign off.
Yes, sir.
All right. As always, this was food for thought, and no matter what you eat, just clean your plate. Peace.
Peace.
I got drive like Uber. On the road like the runner bee. These coyotes can't catch up with me. Got these heads blowing like TNT. I got drive like Uber. Yeah, all these lions in this pride with me. Hunting on the daily cause the dream ain't free. Gotta get it now. Time to wait for me. I got drive like Uber.